to episode 122 of On the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers by scale modelers, all about scale models. And boy, have we got an exciting episode for you. We are going to be joined later in the show by Richard Alexander, who is a general manager of the new Kotare Models Limited. And it's a heck of an interview. Of course, as well as that, we've got the usual mail call and what's new in the modelling world. So let's get on with the show. Established in 2016, the Scale Modeler Supply has developed a comprehensive range of premium acrylic lacquer paints designed specifically with the scale modeler in mind. Certified Australian made, SMS paints are tough and durable with a fast drying time that have been designed to use straight from the bottle, taking all the guesswork out of airbrushing. Simply shake and spray. The ever-growing range of SMS paints will suit all types of model builders, be it military, aircraft, cars, train, science fiction or gunpla. SMS premium acrylic lacquer paints will have a colour to suit you. SMS products are available through a trusted network of stores across Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, the US, and are also now available for the first time in the UK Froome Model Centre. Check the SMS website at www.scalemodeler.com.au to find your closest stockist. These paints are on my bench and I use them all the time, so I know that you will not be disappointed. And hello and welcome to the show, and of course joining us as usual I've got Ian.
G'day Dave, g'day Julian, g'day listeners.
And of course Julian.
Good morning.
How are we all?
Yeah, good.
What's been happening, guys?
I painted. I got some more painting done on the Hurricane, so that's one step closer to finishing, I suppose. Well, it's not that close to finishing, so that's a bit misleading. I've got all the camouflage down. I just got to do the red nose on it, which is very uncharacteristic of a Battle of Britain Hurricane.
Really? I didn't realise any of them had red noses.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I did it, because it was in the box and it has a red nose and it's got little... So there's a red spinner and then there's like a ring of red around the very tip of the fuselage on the nose. And then there's two little comet tails, one on each side.
Yes, I know the scheme.
What squadron was it?
This says number 87 Squadron. Exeter. Something or other.
Huh.
In any case, August 1940. It's a cool looking scheme. It's got a bigger than average the red, white and blue on the tail.
Mm.
Yeah. And really big roundel and really big letters on the side.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Looks real Battle of Britain.
The like I said, the problem is that Airfix, they decided that they were going to give you the ring part of the red on the fuselage and the little comet tails as a decal, one on each side. And then you have to paint the nose and then somehow color match the red of the spinner to the decal.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to bother with that, so I'm gonna design up some masks and do that. I'm gonna take a photo of the decals and I'm just gonna turn that into a mask so that I can just stick it on and spray it.
Yep.
So I'll know that the shape will be like spot on and perfect.
So you're gonna be using that mask cutter, are you?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Hey, why not use it?
Yeah, exactly right.
That's right. And I've still got the masks that I cut for the for the camouflage. There's plenty of actual space still left on this sheet that I could use to cut out something that small, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So easy. I've been working on the Warhammer things a little bit more. It's still mostly in like base painting stage. The troll guy, I airbrushed. I base coated him with a brush in blue, and then I did some airbrushing over the top for some shading effects. And now I've got to finish like base, blocking in all the basic colors and stuff for the rest of it. I'm not very enthused about it. It's a troll. It's a troll with like mushrooms on its head and stuff. I don't know. If it wasn't bought as a present, I wouldn't be touching this thing, right?
More than likely.
Yeah, no doubt. And I've seen on Facebook that you've been moving forward with that Canadian armoured car from World War One.
Yes, yeah. I gave myself a long weekend last weekend, just deliberately, so I could finish this kit. And did all the paint chipping, and then which turned out really nice, and then basically hid most of the paint chipping under weathering. So now that I want it to look damp, and I think I've achieved it.
Yeah, okay.
So next step now is to paint the two grizzly-looking characters to put inside it, and then I can start thinking about what sort of base I'm going to stick it on. Just a basic base, because I don't want to turn it into a diorama, but just something just to put it on.
Making a model look damp or even wet is really hard to pull off.
Yeah, it was. I've got to say, I used the I think it's AK Damp Earth, and yeah, that stuff's brilliant. You just stipple it on,
Okay.
and I just use like a stippling motion just to blend it into the rest of the paintwork. So I used it like at the very bottoms, and then slowly bled it up each panel. So each panel looks like, you'll see it'll go from darker generates to light, and then the next panel above that will be then the dark above the light generating to light again. And just the way I did that, to me, it just looked right. And so, yeah, very happy with the outcome of it. The big brass headlight gas lantern really jumps out now on such a matte and worn looking machine. But no, it's come on quite nice. I'm very happy with it. And I look forward to doing the next Copper State Models kit.
Are you going to be still doing the figures for it?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's. I'm hoping to get a start on them today.
Oh, yeah, cool. Because I was a bit concerned, like you said, oh, it's finished. I'm like, okay, well, where's the figures? I thought, you're leaving them out now? What happened to those?
Look, there's still bits to be glued on this thing. Mainly, I haven't the guns haven't been glued in position yet because they're just sitting there at the moment. I'll have to do them once I've figured out exactly how I'm going to position the two guys inside it.
Are you doing a little base for it?
Yeah, I'm going to do a little base, just a basic base. I don't want to turn into a diorama, just something to display it in its natural environment, so to speak.
Hard ground or like muddy sort of looking ground?
I'm going muddy.
Well, if the model's damp, you've got to almost do it. Yeah.
Yeah, the guys are going to be. The guys are going to be filthy. I want to make them look like they've been out in the field for a long time, and they're over it.
And hence why they're going to be grumpy looking. Why they're grumpy
Correct.
looking.
And the two figures I got, I think one's from ResiCast, and I'm trying to remember the other figure was from. Here we go, D-Day Miniatures, and just the facial expressions on these two figures. They're just not happy guys.
Yeah,
they look like they've seen enough.
Yeah,
that is exactly the way I want to portray this. The vehicle's looking old and used.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the European side of the of World War One was not a happy place.
Well, who would be? I know who would be happy in all that mud in the trenches. Exactly right.
I can't think of a more miserable sort of
environment.
Yeah, I mean, like like I know that there were other conflicts and things where things are more grim or more bloody and blown up, but nothing says World War One like mud and just dying of trench foot or something like that. It's just miserable existence.
Well, I tell you, a World War One battlefield that will equal it in misery, and it'd have to be where the Italians were facing the Austrians.
I was going to say that mountain camp.
The mountain campaign, absolutely. That was.
Oh, that's so cool.
Oh.
Even today, I've got a mate who's actually gone up and had a look at the battlefield up there, and there's so much detritus left over and just left there from the battle. You can still go and pick up clips and stuff like that up in the mountains, just sitting there.
And bodies.
Well,
There's
yeah,
still body.
yeah, bodies still sort of appear from time to time, absolutely. But it was
Because it's so cold and dry.
it was yeah, it was just a brutal war. Oh, battle, I should say, or campaign. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, right.
Well,
there's so much. Well, this whole First World War thing has just come out of the side for me and just bitten me.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I'm just completely hooked.
Mm.
Everything seems to be being put on the back burner, and because once this project's done, I'm going to start hooking into that lovely boat I got from Chris Meddings.
Oh, okay, that'd be good to see that finally
so
built.
cool.
Yeah.
Claymore class.
Yeah, torpedo destroyer.
Yeah.
Torpedo boat destroyer, beg your pardon.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
With your armored car, I'm interested to see like how you'll do the mud and like the troughs through the mud.
Yeah.
You know, that those narrow bloody wagon wheel type wheels leave, you know?
Yep.
Because, you know, it wouldn't be the only car that'd be out there. There'd be so many other ones, you know, bloody horse-drawn carts and...
It'd just be a quagmire.
Yeah.
Absolute quagmire.
I remember, I can't remember, my memory on this is really quite poor, but I remember reading this thing, I'm not sure how true it is, but the apparently the spacing between the left and right wheel all the way, you know, through history has been the same for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's because like the Roman chariots set that width and everything else has had to conform to it since.
Mm.
Because like if they ever changed the distance apart that they were at any point in time, the durability of the carriages would fall drastically.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to like make their own path instead of following another pre-existing one.
Yep.
And so like that carried from Roman times to medieval times to the modern car, and apparently goes all the way up to like the space shuttle. Like that, it's like
I remember seeing something or reading or seeing something similar to that. Yeah, it all stems back to the Roman cart days.
Yeah, and like it's just crazy how like something so antiquated and ancient like dictates something on the space shuttle. You know, like I think it was not the actual space shuttle itself, but it's like the wheels for like one of the vehicles that go up, you know, like the tracks or something or other. I don't know. It was something along those lines.
What it was, well, I think
it sounded cool.
What it was, I went up to the rail gauge.
That's right. It was rail gauge. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Go through tunnels when they were transporting the shuttle, and thus I think that's why they had to make it a certain width.
Yeah.
Fuselage, so they could get it through this gauge. And as you said, it all stemmed back to the ancient Roman days with carts because of the way they measure things.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, people like to talk about upsetting the status quo, but that's that was the one that almost no one's probably really tried to change, right?
Yeah, but getting back to the base, I'll be definitely getting on Google when it gets time to that and getting images of muddy terrain and just try my best to replicate it.
Oh, and you got to do little puddles as well. Oh,
yeah. I've got all my gear. I've got all my water effects and so forth, so I can do all that.
That'll be so cool.
So yeah, I'm going with that. Going well. It's still don't know how far away I am, but yeah, I'm seeing the end of the tunnel on this build.
Well, I've dragged out my Apollo to do some more work on that, and for those who've been following me on Facebook, I've been using real gold leaf and gold leaf silver, or silver leaf, I should say, to try and give it as real sort of look as I can. And it is the most frustrating thing to work with ever is gold leaf. Because trying to cut a straight edge, it's sort of, you end up after about half hour's work of all these little bits of gold flake, and it's like you're working in a cloud of gold flake, and even if you breathe, it sort of goes flying up in the air, and I'm sort of surrounded by a pile of gold leaf on my workbench and down on the carpet and everything, and it's just, oh man, it's so frustrating and delicate to work with.
You're going to have fun next airbrushing painting session.
Why is that?
Well, if that gold leaf's still floating around in the air, you're going to have nice sparkly paint jobs.
Oh no, it's it's a bit bigger than that, but it is the most delicate stuff to work with. And I was originally hoping that I'd just be able to sort of lay it on and sort of burnish it on, and it would stick. Because if you use gold leaf in the real world, you can sort of just apply it against something like a I don't know, a statue or something like that, and just rub it in and it sticks. But the plastic, it won't. So I'm forced to use a white glue, and I paint the model with that, and then apply the gold leaf over the top of it, and then burnish it in with a cotton bud. Sometimes even my fingers do the job. But you got to be really careful because it rips easy as well. So, but once it dries, once the glue dries, it sticks there quite well. So it's looking good.
And Dave, just as a thought, sorry, Dave, just as a thought, have you thought of maybe using spray adhesive?
Oh, no, I haven't. But it's a damn good idea. But the white glue, I just paint it on with a brush. I want it nice and thin, and it works. It works reasonably well. Oh, yeah. I've got no issues with that at all. It's just.
Are you adding water to it?
No.
Because I know with the bare metal foil type stuff, one of the problems that people run into is that the brush strokes in the glue can show through the metal.
Well, it's funny you should say that about bare metal foil, because I bought some this week and it arrived, so I can, for no other reason, just to practice, because I've never used it before. So I thought I'd see what applications I can use that on. Also got a couple of kits as well. What did I get? I got the Razor from Star Wars, from the Mandalorian.
Nice.
I got the one that's not all shiny. It's the bare plastic version.
What scale?
Well, that's the thing. I thought it was 72nd scale, but it looks awfully small for 72nd scale. So
isn't it 144? Dave scale?
No, it's not 144. It's too big for 144. So I'm kind of scratching my head.
Box.
No, it doesn't. That's a frustrating thing. So it's the Bandai kit. It's about $30 for the kit, and
it's going to be small, being that cheap.
Yeah. And also got a RAAF Mackie Jet as well. It was sort of sitting there, and the box art just spoke to me, so I chucked that in the cart and bought that as well.
Oh, the old Larry.
Yeah, the Larry one, yeah. You've built one, haven't you, Ian?
Yeah, but the drop tanks are the wrong size if you want to do an RAAF version.
Gee, thanks.
The wing tanks?
Yeah.
The wing tanks need to change. I didn't. But then again, that was many years ago when I was silly.
Yeah, well...
I don't think I can get aftermarket tanks then, but you can get aftermarket tanks now through, I think Red Roo probably do.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to look into that then and just double check. Yeah.
You know, Dave, since you've got a big thing for the space theme.
Yeah, I love it.
Would you ever do that 144 Revel ISS?
I've thought
it's pretty big.
Yeah, I know. I've thought about it, but again, it's where I'm going to put it after it's built is the issue. Hence, why I've shied away from it.
Hang it from the roof.
Well, hang on. You've always told me never to hang a model from the roof.
Yeah, well, that you can.
Well, and to be honest, your ceilings are quite high up, aren't they?
Yeah, but get a lot of dust, man. So yeah.
Yeah, but if it's that high up, who's going to see the dust?
Well, I guess so. I have to think about that.
I think the thing there's a 1/400 scale one from Dragon.
I think the Revel one's more accurate, is my understanding.
Well, in any case, I don't think you're going to get one that's that accurate. And then there's also the fact that they keep bolting more bits onto it, you know? So you got to get you want to get the most recent one where it's as big as possible, right?
Well, that's true. And if I hang if I hang it from the ceiling, I can portray it with the Russian module firing its rockets, so it's going 45 degrees and nearly flipping.
And then the 1/44th scale one, I think that's 2007, so it's up to that point, and they might have added bits on since then.
Oh, okay.
So even if you got the 1/44 scale one, it wouldn't be as big as it really should be, right?
Yeah. No, I've got to say I'm more into the rockets, really, more than the spacecraft rather than the space station stuff. So,
But I reckon the space station looks cool.
well, why don't you buy it and
It's like
build
this-
it then?
No, I just think it looks cool. I don't necessarily want to build it, right?
I mean, you've talked me into building stuff that I wasn't necessarily ready to build, and it's ended up back on the shelf of doom. Because I wasn't
That's
that
all
interested.
on you, dude. Like what?
Well, like that ship, HMS Abercrombie.
Oh, you're talking about the monitor thing?
Yeah, you said, oh, gee, Dave, it looks cool. Why don't you build it? So I started it, and I wasn't sort of 100% into it, and I haven't finished it yet. It's sort of put it back on the shelf, and it's sort of sitting there waiting for me
Yeah, but just because I said it looks cool, I didn't say go build that.
Oh, you
know?
did so. You said, go and build that, Dave. Go on, go and build that.
Right, listeners, like if you happen to feel the need to go back and find the episode where I may have said that, do yourself a favor and keep it to yourself. I don't need any listeners like dragging the.
You
the
didn't
past
say it
back up.
online. You said it offline, and you were when you're last over here, and you really got me all fired up, and I wasn't necessarily ready to be fired up, and yeah. Don't listen to Julian; he leads you astray.
Well, that just
Whatever.
that just proves, listeners, Dave's
I'm
led.
I'm sure you can get yourself fired up, right? And then you've only got yourself to blame, but you quite happily ignore those ones, don't you?
No, this is good. I can blame you, so I'm quite enjoying
Yeah,
this.
right, yeah. Yeah, but unlike you, I don't have to take any responsibility for that. I can
Wow.
just point at you and laugh.
Yeah, good on you. All right, guys, let's have a very short break, and then we might dive into some listener mail. How's that
Sounds
sound?
great.
All right, back very shortly. Whether you build aircraft, armour, ships, science fiction, cars or figures, the Fine Scale Modeler magazine provides the how-to information you need to take your modelling to the next level. In each issue of Fine Scale Modeler, you'll find clear how-to features on model assembly and finishing written by experts, reviews of the hottest model kits and products, tips and techniques for assembling, painting and finishing, as well as inspiring photos of readers' models. To find out how you can get your copy of Fine Scale Modeler, go to www.finescale.com. Okay, and we're back. And before we hit listener mail, first of all, we need to extend our best wishes to Stuart Clark from Scale Model Podcast. Stuart recently had he was quite open about it. He actually had a heart attack, a minor heart attack. Yeah. So he recognised the symptoms, called for an ambulance, and off to hospital, and he's recovering well now. So all our best to Stuart, and mate, hope you're recovering well and sitting back building lots of models.
Yeah, definitely.
And of course, if you want to find out more from other model podcasts, and there's quite a few around, simply go to www.modelpodcasts.com for the full listing of model podcasts from around the world. And there's quite
as full as we can make it at the moment.
As full as we can. Well, those who have put their hand up to be
There's
part
still
of
a few
our...
more out there that haven't been, that we're probably still trying to get in contact with.
Yeah, we haven't brought them into the fold yet.
Yes.
Well, we soon will. Don't you worry about that.
Part of the cadre.
Part of the empire. All right. So let's have a look at some listener mail, shall we? And the first one we got coming in is from Lee Edmonds. And Lee writes, Dear Dave, always enjoyed listening to On the Bench podcast because it is a very friendly show. However, sometimes it strikes me that you go into a topic without thinking about it too much. This was particularly the case.
This is true.
It is. Sometimes it's even before we roll, we haven't sort of really decided on the topic. But this was a particular burr I had under my saddle, and it was the weather to weather segment. Lee goes on, after listening to the most recent Sprue Cutters Union podcast with a segment which said in effect that you're not a real modeler if you don't weather, I shot them off an email saying I was offended by what they had said. I wasn't really offended, more annoyed at being classified as a second-class modeler because I don't personally like weathering. It seems to me that weathering is a matter of taste, and therefore I'm being criticised because of my modelling tastes. And he goes on about talking about how weathering is potentially a fad at times. And Lee continues on, I could go on, but these points are starting points. So as far as I'm concerned, weathering is an optional extra in modelling that I don't choose to indulge in. What I object to is a current fad trend to denigrate models that are not weathered and the modelers who don't do it. This makes me feel like a second-class modeler in a hobby, which is therefore less friendly to me than what I'd hoped it would be. Sorry about the length of this, but it's something I'm getting cranky about. Perhaps it's lockdown getting to me. All the best from Lee. Well, Lee, I 100% agree with you. I don't necessarily weather my models, and I don't care what people think about that. And I will stand and die on a ditch or on a mountain saying that models don't need to be weathered. I can prove plenty of examples where even armour is shiny as it's even more so than when it's come out of the factory. Prove me wrong.
Well, fortunately, there's enough of this. There's enough of this hobby to go around that you can pick and choose the parts you like and dislike.
That's right.
Absolutely. But it just, I mean, you know, I have seen so many tanks where they are, you know, for a regimental parade, for example, and they are, you will not find one speck of dust on it because they're, you know, checked by the company sergeant major and then the regimental sergeant major before they go out and parade. And they're generally driven on, you know, nice sort of clean sort of roads. Look at the Soviet tanks in the May Day parade. They're all sparkling clean with fresh coats of green paint on them.
What, the ones if they run?
Yeah, white wall tyres and everything. So come on, give me a break. You don't have to weather your models, and there's plenty of examples of unweathered models out there that you can use.
Well, I'll just be faddish and I'll continue weathering my models.
Well, you're allowed to, and that's the joy of the hobby, that you can do that. But I'm not going to stand here and call you a weirdo or denigrate you because you choose to do that.
Yep.
Moving along. I said everything I needed to say just a second ago, so I'm done.
Our good friend John Marley writes in, he says, greeting benches. In your last episode, made my ears prick up when Julian mentioned that the Victorian government, which is our state government here, had become the first state in Australia to outlaw the use of the swastika unless for educational and historical purposes. Wondering how that would actually affect the scale modelling is a very valid question. So he actually reached out to a mate of mine who works within government circles. What he was told is that all that's occurred is that a report has been handed down recommending those changes, and no legislation has been drawn up at this point, and nothing will come into effect for quite some time. He also made the point that you could walk into any bookstore and see swastikas on certain books in the military history section, and said that the act of purging books aren't in line with current government values, and is more in itself in line with Nazi ideology than leaving them on sale. And he said common sense would play a major part in any future legislation. So we can all relax, Julian. You can still put your swastikas on your Luftwaffe models.
Well, I don't have any intention to build any yet.
Oh, okay. Well,
I have in the past, but, you know, it's like... I've seen enough 109s and stuff on tables. I'm over it.
Yep.
Okay, Brian Kelling. And I got that name right because at the bottom of the email he actually showed me how to pronounce it.
There's a smart man.
Brian hails from Portland, Oregon. And I've actually driven through Portland and Oregon. It's a beautiful little place and part of the world.
The only place in continental USA that the Japanese bombed during World War II.
And they have one of the most amazing air museums as well out there in Oregon. So anyway, Brian writes, I've enjoyed listening to your podcast for several years now and have formulated many emails in my head during that time, but never got to the point of actually writing them until now. I recently purchased my first ship model, the Revell SMS Dresden and Emden. Great kits. I have also gathered up a respectable amount of photo etch wooden decks, Micromaster guns. I want you to know I was tempted to such a dramatic move by you all. It looks like it will take ages to build, but will be great fun, and thanks for that. So my question is there a model kit of the Mad Max Ford Falcon driven by the MFP in the movie Mad Max? Ian, I think you can talk to that.
I've got the Aoshima Mad Max Interceptor. I'm trying to remember if it's 124 or 125th scale.
It would be 124, I think.
It is hard to get your hands on, and if you can get your hands on, you are spending big dollars. It is not a cheap kit. I'm not sure about the yellow standard Falcons. I'd have to look into that, but no, I don't know of the standard yellow ones, but I do know you can get the the Mad Max Falcon is out there if you want to spend money and time.
And the difference being that on the one that you've got the kit of, Ian, it's got like two 44-gallon drums in.
It's got the big was it the big 180 litre gas tanks in the back, the two of them.
But that's in place of the trunk lid.
Correct. Yes.
So you would have to fabricate that yourself.
You'd have to do so much work because the yellow ones were 4-door sedans.
Oh, really?
So you have to change a coupe, 2-door coupe.
Yeah, that's
a lot of work.
Different body shape, totally different body shape. You have to recut the roof, add doors, cut doors. Yeah, just way too much work. But I know years and years ago there was a company in Australia here that was doing resin or fiberglass body shells of Australian cars, and I'm pretty sure you could get an XB or an XA sedan. But trying to find something nowadays, like I'm talking probably 20, 30 years ago.
I think they're still around, but to be honest, they make those kits in resin, and they don't look they look pretty rough, I think.
Well, I had one of the early fiberglass XT Ford Falcons, and the thing shattered when I was trying to cut the windows open. It was that brutal. It was, yeah.
There you go, Brian. I hope that's answered your question.
Hopefully that might have helped you out a bit. But Aoshima, do the Mad Max Interceptor if you can find it, and are willing to spend the money.
There you go. David Waples, a good friend of the podcast, writes in, "Hi, Dave. I just had the chance to listen to the podcast today. I'm glad you're all excited about Omaha," which we certainly are. "I did not hear the Falcon report about the new 4 models 172nd Schnellboat. I caught this at the IPMS Nationals in Las Vegas. Their US distributor had a sample on display. This is an impressive kit, much improved over the old Revell offering. It includes photo etch and turn brass barrels. The weapons have many parts that build up to a very detailed representation of the guns. You won't need extra detail kits with this model. It even has individual stanchions that you rig with supplied brass wire. Very impressive first effort by this Chinese startup. I'm not sure where they came from, but they have some serious skills. Anyway, give it a look." And thanks for that, David. And
I first heard of this kit and this company when I saw the product at the bottom of a email from Lucky Model.
All right.
And I believe I mentioned it to someone, I can't remember who, and they were like, "Oh, that's probably just a rebox of the Revell kit."
Revell one.
Apparently not. And then I tried to look up any information about them, and maybe it's just the sort of language barrier between Chinese and English, but I couldn't find anything. There was nothing on ScaleMates. There was nothing. It was just completely blank. So I just assumed like, oh well, maybe it's like some weird rebrand, and that's it.
Well,
no.
the modelingnews.com actually has a preview of it now, so you can just go there and have a look. And believe it or not, I was having to skip through what the Falcon had sent in, and he does mention it in this in this week's What's New in the Modelling World. So there you go. So, David, you've beaten the Falcon.
There you go.
Wow.
Well, he's a falcon when he's first to the punch, but when he gets beaten, he's just a seagull.
Oh, jeez. Okay, Michael Thompson writes in, "Hi, David and Julian. Hope you're keeping well. Today I dropped off a kit I'd sold to a fellow modeler, and we got chatting about what projects are on our benches. He told me he's busy with a 1/350th scale model." Yes. And he commented rather proudly that he'd replicate all the internal piping and ducts with wet spaghetti. Yes, that's correct. You read it right. Wet spaghetti. Now, I'm no gatekeeper, and I'm all in support of modelers finding new and creative ways of doing things, but this has to be one of the more unusual things I've heard of. I mean, wouldn't the various thicknesses of wire or solder or stretch sprue be a better option? I guess the salt weathering method or the hairspray technique were pretty bizarre when they were first tried, so I'm not judging, but I'm sure you guys have come across some pretty out there modelling solutions that may make for an entertaining discussion. Keep well, Michael. Wet spaghetti.
I outside, whenever spaghetti's mentioned outside of food, I just assume it's some kind of joke. Right? Because I mean, like it's a food, right? So when like there's this common like internet sort of meme where when someone is talking awkwardly to someone and they're being really socially awkward, they often, to sort of symbolize this, they usually say, "Oh, and spaghetti was falling out of my pocket."
I just can't.
Don't ask me how.
I can't.
Don't ask me how that joke came about, but it's a weird thing, and it cracks me up every time I see it. So when I read that they'd used spaghetti in a model, it's like, is this someone blowing smoke up my ass? Is that what's happening? I don't think it is. Now that I've read the whole thing, but that's weird, isn't it?
Well, I can well see using dry spaghetti, because using wet spaghetti, you'd have to wait for ages for it to dry.
Well, it's not even properly cylindrical, is it?
Well, it's as cylindrical, I guess, as you're going to get in anything. And I can see how it'd be great. And I'm wondering if there's the right scale for 1/350. 1/72 I can perhaps understand, but 1/350 scale?
Oh no, if you get an angel hair spaghetti, you might get away with it.
Oh, even angel hair's way too thick, I'd recommend.
That'd be a messy process too.
Or enjoyable, if once you finish, just add some tomato sauce and some meat, and bingo, you can have some spaghetti bolognese. Wow.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, does the spaghetti does it degrade over time? Will it rot away?
Well, I presume it would. Like, it harkens back to the early days where, like, people used to use flour for snow on dioramas, and then wonder after about a few months they were getting weevils.
Getting weevils on your models and your dioramas, that's hilarious.
Well, I suppose it's better than using something like other powdered substances.
Well, that might be expensive doing that, Julian.
Yeah.
And illegal.
Well, to be honest, there's a lot of them out there, right? And it's like, there's like chalk and other things, Yeah.
But there's also other. I can remember years ago, I can't remember who it was, but he was a very well-respected modeler, was doing a P-51 Mustang in bare metal, but he was using standard tin foil, aluminium foil.
Yep.
But boiling it in eggshells.
What?
Oh yeah.
And that gives you different colours or different tones to the foil, and that's how he's be able to replicate that. And that was, someone using a food product for modelling. I remember I did it myself. Once used Vegemite for painting, for paint chipping, which in Vegemite for us non-Australians is like a Marmite.
Yeah.
Dab it on with a sponge, put the
I would never try
paint
that.
over it, wait till the paint's about.
I would never try that.
I did. It worked well. That was before we had chipping agents and all the other great ideas that are coming out now. We had to make do with what we had.
Okay.
I mean, any product that can work as a mask will do. Yeah. But of all choices, Vegemite, really?
Well, for that, spaghetti. Goodness.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on.
I hope we haven't made any listeners hungry.
Well, you know what?
Talking about all this bloody food.
I'd be interested to hear if anybody's got a weird sort of item that they use in their modelling. So write into us at onthebench64 at gmail.com and we'll read them out. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, bonus points if it's something food,
yes,
something food orientated.
Yes,
food orientated, yes.
Food only, bonus points. Our last email comes from Owen Dawson, who writes in, "Hello, benchers. I've got a couple of subjects I'd like to hear your opinions on. By all means, split them up into different mailbags if you see fit." Well, we'll have a crack at doing both of them. Yeah. The first is about the revolution in aftermarket products for model makers, which 3D printed accessories are offering. I predominantly build 135th Armour, and I've been blown away by the quality of recently released 3D printed accessories from the likes of FC Model Trends, MJ Miniatures, and T-Rex. Given the detail of these sets offer and the ease of their use, I increasingly find that PE has less and less of a role to play in my builds. The only significant advantage I can see in PE for the 135th scale modeler is the potential it offers to show true-to-scale side armour for tank destroyers or badly damaged fenders in a tank. Although even here, I often prefer the thin of the plastic of the kit part rather than the use of PE if I can get away with it. To sum up, although I can still see PE, that would be the way to go with ship models and certain aspects of aircraft modelling. Is it not time for Ian to admit that photo etch has become the old friend that you no longer bother to catch up? Your thoughts?
Ooh.
No, I still like my photo etch. I've got to say, the resin stuff coming out now is blowing my mind. But when it comes to shipbuilding, some of the bits, I just like using my photo etch.
I agree.
And honestly, look, there probably will come a time where photo etch will no longer be used because everything's evolving. And if I don't keep up with evolution, well, you know what happens. If you don't keep up with evolution, you go extinct.
Well, I have to admit, with ships, I'm moving away from using photo etch as part of the armament side of stuff now because there's so much good stuff in 3D printed now.
The thing with photo etch and armament on ships is usually you end up with flat gun barrels.
Yeah,
it's not a cool look, is it?
It's not a good look, no.
But photo etch is still great for realism in scale in 1350 and 1700 subjects.
I think so too, yeah.
And
I remember when I did those 700, 1 to 700 scale Oerlikons, and like the little tiny sticks of photo etch for the gun barrels. And like, so if you actually look at it really up close, you would see a square profile gun barrel. And it kind of always made me feel a bit, it's like, well, that's a bit weird,
Yep.
Let's tackle Owen's second part. And his second subject for discussion is when, if ever, is it acceptable to negatively respond to photos of completed photos of models on social media? I normally shy away from critical comments of modelers' posts, even if the end result looks like the back end of a badger. However, one post on a group called Panzer Model Art did irk my critical side. Somebody, who shall remain nameless, posted photos of a collection of his completed 135th Panzers, which, whilst cleanly assembled, were left unpainted and built straight from the box. Predominantly, the comments were congratulatory. I'm struggling to get my mouth around that word. But somebody did post, "Why apply decals before you paint your models?" The smoke blowers jumped on this guy to tell him it was up to the poster to finish his kits as he sees fit. And whilst this is true, I'm of the opinion that if you are going to post photos on social media, I think you should be prepared for all comments, both positive and negative. In this instance, I took the side of the critic and said the said group is called Panzer Model Art and not Panzer Model Assembly. Do you think it's valid to negatively respond to such posts, and have you let rip on some finished photos on a group that is not designed for critique? After this comment I made a couple of days ago, in the spirit of critique, I afterward decided to post photos of my latest completed work of a 1/35th scale vignette of a Stug set in Sicily in 43 on the Scale Models critique group. The first time I posted there. Let's see if I can take it as well as give it out. All the best, Owen from North Wales.
It's a touchy subject. Because what's right is not necessarily what's nice.
Yes.
It's best, like, to some degree, I think you need to be a bit sort of like socially conscious and go, well, this is not an area where people are asking for critique, so I won't give it. There are places that encourage critique, and you should go to them, like the critique group on Facebook. No one can prevent you from holding an opinion, right? So even if you can't give your opinion, because obviously you might hurt some people's fragile egos, there's no reason why you can't talk about it amongst friends and other people who can handle a constructive conversation.
Well, why not just take the conversation offline? Post something along the lines of, you got some interesting photos there. Would you like to discuss this in personal messages?
Yeah, I suppose.
I don't see anything wrong with the person asking the question of, why did you decal it before painting it? It's a valid question. This person just asked a valid question, and for that person to get jumped on by everyone else, I think that's just a sad way of looking at the way people are going at the moment. That everyone's just too easily offended, and no one can ask questions anymore.
And I agree 100%. Yeah, I agree 100% with what you're saying, Ian. So if you responded with that, why did you decal before you painted? And if the guy comes back, that's the way I like it, well, then fine, leave it as it is.
That's your choice. Good to hear.
But if he comes back with, why is there a better way of doing it, that's the opportunity then where he's inviting you to sort of step in and perhaps discuss, yes, you should be painting it first before you put your decals on.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is a really interesting thing because it's a modern thing that's come about from social media, where essentially the publisher can or is sometimes forced to interact with their audience, so to speak. In the past you had publications and they would curate what goes out in the magazine. But if you post something online, it's like, well, you've put it out there. You should it's no longer just your thing anymore, right? It's up for everyone to look at and have ideas and opinions on.
It becomes public domain.
Yeah, to a degree, it becomes public domain,
Yeah, and if you can't handle criticism, well, then don't post.
Yeah, so if you're posting in a group that is for modelers, you do open yourself up for discussion on the subject you posted. But if you're posting in your own sort of, private sort of Facebook page, then, it's a different matter, I think.
There's also like another sort of grey area in between where people will post it in places that are public and where the comments are heavily moderated to prevent any negative criticism or any kind of criticism. But then there's no reason why people can't talk about that somewhere else on a different website or a different Facebook group, or even in person, right? Like, oh, did you see on that magazine's Facebook page? And I'll have a conversation with Ian in person. Maybe not now at the moment because of lockdown, but whatever. And there's nothing anyone can do to prevent that conversation from happening. But the problem is, like, people find out about this on the did you see that someone was talking about the model that you posted up and they shouldn't be allowed to do that?
Yeah.
It's like, well, they can. I mean, the only reason you found out about it is because they had that conversation somewhere else on the internet instead of in person in the privacy of their own home or at a club or whatever. There's a lot of grey areas in the between there that are coming about from this modern age of social media, and there's no right answer.
We live in interesting times, my friends. Interesting times.
That we are.
All right, let's see what the Falcon has to say. And of course, that sound means that the Falcon has written in. And he writes, "Hi, Dave, Ian, and Julian. The Falcon likes his new intro." Oh, well, there you go.
Suits him.
We should get the seagull sound as well, so when he messes up, we can use that. All right, firstly, aircraft news. AZ Models are to repop Pavla's 72nd scale Miles Messenger, which is the M38. AZ will be making some small improvements and are hoping to have the kit ready for release by the end of the year. Models Fit have finished the design on their CAD for their upcoming 148 scale Mirage 4A/P. Models Fit's kits have been getting better and better, so this is a safe bet. This will be a vast improvement on the old Hella offering. The Mirage 4 was a large aircraft, so this will be a large kit with real presence if you have room for it. I think Mirage 4 was designed to be a nuke deliverer, was it not? Single-seat nuke deliverer or something?
I'm not too sure, mate.
IBG Models will add to their 172nd scale PZL-11 range with a PZL P11F. The box art shows a Romanian example with liberal applications of yellow paint. Look for this in October.
Romanian schemes are pretty.
They are.
Oh, yes. I've built one Romanian aircraft, and yeah, it is the most colourful, one of the most colourful aircraft in my cabinet.
Models Fit have shown CAD renders for a 172nd scale North American LRV. Of course, I don't have to explain to Dave what this is, but for the listeners, an LRV is a lenticle re-entry vehicle.
I thought it was lenticular.
Yeah, lenticular.
Lenticular, sorry. Oh, I've got to put my glasses on. Given the popularity of lenticular re-entry vehicles among modelers, this one is sure to be a hot seller, but you might want to get that pre-order in straight away so you don't miss out. You know what? I'm going to get my hands on one of them because that's in the right scale for what I'm doing my space subjects in.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. KP Models have shown box art for 172nd scale Sopwith Dolphin. They've actually shown 3 different examples of the box art, 2 British marked aircraft and 1 Polish example. So we can expect that many boxings, at least Wingnut Wings might have gone, but KP are doing their best for the World War I guys. Wingsy Kits are releasing a special double boxing of their 48 scale ME109E. The Condor Legion boxing will contain 2 full kits, allowing you to make both the E1 and the E3 versions. At the time of writing, I hadn't seen the marking options, but expect a decent selection of nationalist marked aircraft.
I've heard nothing but good news about that kit.
Was the E model actually flown in the Condor Legion?
Yeah, early E's.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a version before that.
Mm.
Well, there you go. Learn something every day.
It should be a good kit too, from what I hear.
The Dora Wings 172nd scale P43 Lancer is now available. If you're a 77th scale modeler, you should really buy one. Kentucky Dave, are you listening to this podcast? Go out and get one. Roden are re-releasing their 1/144th scale Douglas C133 Cargo Master. This will come with a PGM-17 Thor intermediate range ballistic missile. There you go. Oh, that sounds very exciting.
Dave scale, yes.
I could almost be tempted to pull the trigger on that one. Almost. Roden have also announced a 1/144th scale Focke-Wulf FW200 V3/A-09 Condor, which is going to be the 4-engine passenger aircraft. It will be a 6 decal option, 1 overall silver machine at the Richland Test Centre, with 5 other being aircraft in Luftwaffe service. 2 in 70/80/65 camouflage.
80? No, it's
Yeah, it's like RLM's colours, isn't it?
Right,
70,
okay.
71, 65.
Yeah.
You
And
said 80.
did I? Did I say
I
80?
don't know where you got 80 from. That's 80s, I think, is a very light green.
Did you hearing things? I'm sure I said 65. I'll rewind the tape. And 1 in white winter camo, which the Falcon's not too impressed with.
Not a fan of white winter camo.
And 2 silver and black. We're seeing images of the sprues, so it can't be too far away, apparently. Cora apparently are releasing a 1/72nd scale limited edition injection molded kit of the Richkyugen. Did I get that right, guys?
Rikugan.
That'll do. KI-73, which is a Japanese heavy fighter, which was in development at the end of World War II. There'll be 4 boxings, the prototype, and 3 What If Japan 1946 versions. That's interesting. If you're going to be you're going to have to be really keen or loaded if you want one of these, because they're selling for €66 for a 72nd scale kit. That's outrageous. Wow. There we go.
Is it at least big?
No, not that.
Heavy fighter.
So obviously it's going to be twin engine.
Don't know. You guys are going to have to do a quick Google search while I move on.
Yeah.
The Falcon normally sticks to styrene injected news, but thought this might be of interest to people. Aircraft in miniature have released a 1/72nd scale 3D printed kit of the infamous Blackburn. Blackburn.
Hey.
An aircraft so
That's
ugly.
weird.
An aircraft that was so ugly, you were surprised it's not French. The kit itself looks really good. Fine service detailing, and it comes with a pretty comprehensive interior. Looks like this would build up to a really nice but homely model.
Yeah, the sort of thing I'd love if it was in 48.
Yeah, I remember the Blackburn was a particularly ugly aircraft.
You know what? It's like they designed an aircraft that was supposed to look like a sperm whale, like really heavy and large at the front, and then like comically small at the rear.
We're talking about the Blackburn?
Yep.
Yeah, the Blackburn. Like it looks like you could fit like 3 engines stacked on top of each other in the front, but it's only got one.
The pilot sits on top of the engine.
That's weird.
That was the reason. It was so they could get the proper view for carrier landings, so they weren't obscured by the long engine cowl.
Blackburn built a lot of aircraft for the Royal Fleet Air Arm, and they built some weird, and they built some real dogs. So, yeah.
Also the naming sense is weird to me. It's like when like music artists will have a self-titled album.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, oh, what's this album called? And like that's why everyone says self-titled instead of the actual name of the album, because it's like, Michael Jackson's Michael Jackson album. It's weird,
Or Roger out of
Blackburn. Weird.
Or what was my most favourite World War II movies, Major?
Oh yes, that was Catch-22.
Catch-22.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to military vehicles now.
No, you missed a section.
I have 2 ship kits. Wow, here we go. Okay, not the freshest of news, but worth mentioning. And of course, David Waples has beat him to the punch, where we spoke about the 1/72nd scale Schnellboot, 1942. So, sorry, Falcon, but we have to shoot you down because you've missed the boat. We've already covered that one. Military vehicles. Let's move on to that. Monochrome will be releasing a 1/16th Sturmgeschütz.
Sturmgeschütz.
There you go. Sturmgeschütz 3.
Basically, Dave, it's a Stug 3 Aus G.
Apparently isn't related to the just announced DAS work kit. So that's interesting. A 1/16th Stug was announced by Trumpeter a while back, and Monochrome are mostly known for boxing Trumpeter kits for the Japanese market. It seems very likely this will be the Trumpeter kit. The good news is the version being offered by Monochrome is slightly different to the Daswork kit, so they won't compete directly. Please feel free to buy both, says the Falcon.
It's in 1/16 scale. Though.
Yeah. And speaking of Stugs, I just saw an article that the Australian Armour Museum has recently received an early war Stug.
Oh, we got to get up there, man. We have got to get up there.
Yes.
Border Models have just shown a series of CAD renders for a Stug 3 OS FG final production with interior. This thing is jam-packed with detail. You get the complete interior, driver's compartment, fighting compartment, and engine compartment. All of the compartments. You also get bonus stowage to go on the engine deck. What Border didn't tell us was what scale it was in. So it probably will be 1/35th, but there is so much detail on show, it could easily be a larger scale.
Those things were so cramped inside too, those Stugs. You're basically sitting on top of each other.
Daswork have just announced a 1/35th scale Rappenschlepper.
Yay.
I got that right.
You did.
OST RSO .01 Type 470. It is a cooperative, it is in cooperation production with a major manufacturer who would be Dragon Models. This kit may have some changed parts.
Yeah.
There you go. ICM Model 35th scale G7017 US Army truck is now in people's hands. And ICM actually did take note of people's complaints and have fixed the windscreen on the cab. The CAD renderings originally showed a flat windscreen where in reality it should have been a V windscreen. Good to see that ICM were listening and made the necessary changes. Good for their sales too, as many would not have bought the kit with such an obvious error in it.
Yeah, that's something that'd really stick out, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. The release of Sylvester's already announced 72nd scale Bumerang BM 8x8 APC is imminent, so have your money ready. Dragon Models have announced a 1/35th scale kit of the early German tank. Ian, you go.
Good luck.
Nobel Farzug.
There you go. Dragon previously released the NR3-5 versions, so they claim that a new kit. This is a new kit, but the NR2 version was released by a Dragon offshoot, Cyber Hobby. So I think that it's fair to call this one a re-release.
Yep.
Border Models are to release a new 1/35th scale kit of the German tank, the Panzerkampfwagen Mark V 746E, also known as a British cruiser tank Mark VI, Crusader 2. It's the early version with a 2-pounder gun and a cute little MG turret. Strangely, Border have decided to market this as a German vehicle. The box art shows a captured example with big German crosses, and the kit comes with an admittedly very nice Africa Corps figure. You do get British marking options if this seems very odd that this is most British of British tanks being marketed as a German one. Can't imagine seeing a kit of a Tiger 1 with box art showing one in French markings. So there you go. And
it is odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very odd.
I mean, like, why would you release a British tank, but your main boxing has like German on the German markings on the cover?
I think because the majority of armor modelers probably build German subjects.
Well, it's also sort of positions you left of centre as well, so maybe it's a way of.
Well, it might be because they're trying not to compete with a similar product in the same scale.
Yeah.
That got released because I know there's another Crusader in 35th that got released not too long ago by. Who was it? Was it Ryefield?
May well be Ryefield.
Or Tacom. Maybe it was Tacom. One of them anyway.
Did they have the MG turret though? Because the Crusader had that cool little MG turret on it. I wonder if they have.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anyway.
But it might be close enough that they decided to go that way.
Before the Falcon signs off, he says, I believe Tamiya have made some kind of an armour announcement. Maybe Julian has heard something. And cheerio for now from the Falcon.
So, over the years of this podcast, I've often mentioned that there are some really, really obvious gaps in the lineup, right? So there was the P38. We needed a new P38 because the Hasegawa kit and the Academy kit were woeful. And then Tamiya comes out with one. And now they've just done the same for the M18 Hellcat. Remember how I tried building both the AFV Club and the really old Academy kit. And like both of them were incorrect or terrible to build in various ways. And I went off on some rant about it, you know. And Tamiya's brought one out.
Wow.
And I always said, if you just wait long enough, you'll get what you want if it's obvious enough. I mean, like if you're into something like the Blackburn, right? Like you're pretty much you're really, you know, your prayers are probably not going to be answered, but they might be. With the Hellcat, I knew it was only a matter of time. Yes, and I can't wait to get one. It'll be good. But I won't necessarily have to get one straight away because it's Tamiya. I know it's going to be available for the next 60 years.
Exactly.
And I'll never have to worry about it being some out of production weird thing, you know. Oh, so good. You know, I mean, like it's like I've been watching across like the internet, and it's been like universal praise for the release of this kit. Right? People have been waiting for a decent Hellcat for ages.
Okay. Well, we'll just have to wait and see what comes out.
Yeah,
it's such a, you know, I'm quite disappointed in the lack of enthusiasm I'm hearing from you guys about this kit.
Well, you know, it's not necessarily something that I would excite me enough to reach into a pocket and buy one.
I like tank destroyers, so it could be something in my.
Yeah, well, it is definitely a tank destroyer. It was, you know, the product produced by the tank destroyer division during World War II, which was completely separate from the rest of what was going on with the land forces.
Yep.
You know, basically, you know, they had like their stopgap thing with like the M10. That was their thing to buy them over until they could make the Hellcat. 20 millimeters of armor. It's got paper for armor, but it drives at 80 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, it was
right?
A speed demon.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, you think about like what kind of cars were around at the time. They'd struggle to do that kind of speed, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
It was ridiculous. Like you almost don't get a tank as fast as that until you get to like the Abrams.
Yes.
And it's got a pretty good gun. It's got the 76 millimeter gun that was put into all the late model Shermans.
That's a high velocity gun, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's technically the 76 millimeter. It's actually 75. They just call it 76 because they had to differentiate the ammo from the regular 75 mil ammo.
All right.
Otherwise, people would get confused. Oh, it's
Such
so
is
good.
life.
Open top, you know, like that's the thing, right? Like imagine driving this thing at breakneck speeds through Europe, and it's the middle of winter.
Oh, wind in your hair. Yes, I can imagine.
Well,
that.
and it's open topped, and then on top of that, it's winter, and on top of that, the air intakes for the motor come through the driver's compartments area. You know, like where the crew are. So it's literally pulling cold air through all of that into the engine. It's not a fun time, but it's fast, you know? It's a sports car on tracks.
Wow. All right, guys, I think we're getting pretty close to catching up with our special guest, Richard Alexander. And let's perhaps take a break and we'll jump in and see what Richard's got to tell us about the new modelling company. How's that sound?
Kotare, yeah.
All right, back soon with Richard. And just to let everybody know, we had a few recording issues with the link between New Zealand and Australia. I hope that doesn't detract from your enjoyment of this interview. Thanks, guys. And we are terribly excited to be joined by the General Manager of Kotare Models, Richard Alexander. And for those of you who've been hiding under a rock, Richard is an award-winning modeler and has been in the model and hobby trade since the early 1990s. He was a project coordinator and then general manager of New Zealand-based Wingnut Wings Model Company from June 2006 until April 2020. But Richard still retains his passion for ensuring your models are highly detailed and accurate while remaining as simple and enjoyable to build as possible, no matter what your skill level. Richard, welcome to the show. It's been a long time. The last time we spoke to you was back in June 2018 on episode 27, which for us is nearly 100 episodes ago. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'm all right. That just seems like yesterday, to be honest.
Must have made an impression.
Well, Richard, yourself and the other group that you've gathered around you for this groundbreaking new model company, Kotare Models, tell us a little bit about it. What was the genesis of it? Where did it come from? And what are you doing?
A few years ago now, Mark, who I've known through the local IPMS clubs and competitions and stuff, he approached me sort of inquiring how to start up a New Zealand model company, and at the time I was gainfully employed at Wingnut Wings, so we had a good conversation, and then everything sort of changed in April last year, and he saw an opportunity, although he wasn't intending for it to start quite so soon, to jump onto a sort of a nearly turnkey ready model company and have a crack at something else.
And you guys have also gathered an interesting team around you as well. So the proprietor, as you mentioned, is Mark Robinson, but you've also got product designer Darren Middlehall, again well known from Wingnut Wings, as well as a product and industrial designer Jason McAdam, again from hailing from Wingnut Wings. Your box art's being done by Daryl Legg, and decal artist is Malcolm Laird, and your profile artist is Ronnie Barr.
That's right.
Sounds like you gathered together the dream team.
It's whoever was available and was willing to work with me again. I think Daryl Legg is the odd one out, so to speak, from that wasn't with us at Wings, but we saw his art online and it seemed to be a good fit. Certainly for slightly more modern subjects like our first one. Sort of managed to talk him into helping us out as well.
So let's talk about your first kit, and that is the Spitfire Mk1a late version. What led you to deciding and landing on that particular aircraft?
Well, basically it's my favourite, and I've always wanted to do one, and I've never thought there was a good enough one out there. Well, that sort of changed a couple of years ago in 48 scale, but 32 scale. Turns out 1967 there hasn't been an all-new 32nd scale Mark 1 Battle of Britain Spitfire available full. So it seemed like an incredible, like a huge gap in the market, just staring everybody in the face, and they just lost sight of the fact that all Spitfires are like all Fords; they're all exactly the same, and they're all popular. All Ferraris are all the same. Oh, it's not another Ferrari. They're not. They're all freaking different.
That's right.
It's remarkable that nobody has built or produced this kit in over 50 years, a 32nd scale version of it. I just can't. I can't believe that.
Well, it's an all-new kit. Hasegawa sort of retooled their Mark V to create a sort of an A-wing Mark V and then a Mark I and that sort of thing. That was the few decades ago now, but it wasn't an all new kit. And Revell did the Mark II, which sort of is a very it's not a very common aircraft for the Battle of Britain. They did sort of start getting up near the end, but yeah, very, very rare. And you can have debates all day as to how appropriate the details on the kit are for a Battle of Britain airplane or a Mark II or whatever. But it's a total surprise. I just couldn't believe it. It's just a big, massive gap staring us in the face. And my favourite aeroplane of all time, I think.
The drawings, or I should say the CAD renderings that you've got on your website, and showing that it's actually coming with some stressed skin in it as well, perhaps even maybe a little bit of oil canning here and there. It's looking like a superb kit. Are you at the point yet where you're ready to do some test shots?
Well, we've no, we're not. We haven't not test shot stage yet. Otherwise, we might be a little bit more concrete on a release schedule. But we're certainly looking forward to test shots being available. So I just want to go back to sort of the beginning. So Mark Robson, shortly after we sort of said, let's do this, he sent me a big, long list of subjects, which I won't discuss.
Now, you are infamous for not discussing what your future potential releases are with us. I remember when we had you last on the show, we're trying to weasel out of you something, and the only hint you would give us is it was a slight relation to an Australian sort of subject, and of course that ended up being the Lancaster, which unfortunately never saw the light of day. But you're infamous amongst us for being very tight-lipped about what's coming down the pike.
Just imagine a list of every aeroplane ever made.
Yep.
I think they were all aeroplanes. I can't remember. And anyway, except a Mark 1 Spitfire, and I suggested that, and that's where we went from. What we're doing to begin with.
Well, of course, any company that's sort of starting from the ground up, you need to pick a subject that is going to be popular to the point where it's profitable. That's the whole idea of actually having a model company, is it not to be profitable so you can move on to your next subject?
Well, it helps.
Definitely. Definitely.
It's not you don't have to do it like that, but it certainly helps.
Mm. Yeah. That way you get to stay around longer.
Well, I mean, the costs that are associated, are frightening. And, anybody who's sort of starting off, they need to have that business sort of eye across it. Otherwise, you're just dooming yourself even before you sort of sell your first kit.
Well, yeah, you can take baby steps, or you can jump head first into the shallow end of the pool, like I think we're doing. But I know that we have the capabilities of doing a really good job of it. So I'm not really worried about any of that sort of thing. And sort of just jumping back to your sort of surface detail sort of comment earlier. I mean, that's one of the things that makes aeroplanes, the real aeroplane, like a true object of history, and it sort of personalizes them. It adds that human touch. They're not sort of it just sort of it personalizes them and makes it easier to associate the actual pilots and people that service them, and just sort of give you a bit more sort of an appreciation for everything else that went around the aeroplane, and especially a Battle of Britain Spitfire, which obviously, along with the more numerous Hurricane, just seemed to have such a important place in the history of aviation and World War II, for that matter.
Very true.
Are you planning to have any photo etch or any sort of additional stuff like that, so that it's sort of a complete, ready-to-build kit as it is, or are you looking perhaps to sort of had some additional features like pilot, that type of stuff that you can sort of purchase alongside it into the future?
Well, I personally, I think every kit that I've been involved in creating has been ready to make as it is.
Yep.
But you can't tell modelers that. They'll replace everything they possibly can with aftermarket stuff, whether it's needed or not, or better or worse, or just plain wrong. They'll do it.
Yep.
Completely buildable out of the box, and maybe there'll be some other sort of ancillary extras offered separately or something like that. It's all up in the air at the moment.
Yeah, it's still early days.
In this 32nd scale space, it's become a sort of standard that a lot of kits will provide engine detail. Is this a kind of thing that you want to pursue, or do you want to step away from that?
Well, I mean, it adds a huge amount of complexity to model. It's something it was a policy at Wings to include engines, and to that end, the Lancaster, that we had engines for every engine bay, we planned to, but we also had dummy engines that were just a couple of blocks of plastic that you could glue all the nacelles to and plug the exhaust pipe into. So, I think there's certainly a market out there for people that want to put all the engine, internal details on the outside of the aeroplane and break up the beautiful lines of an aeroplane like a Spitfire. But also there's a ton of people out there that just want it to look like an aeroplane they see sitting on the ground in most photos. And so that is the sort of thing where the aftermarket can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like you said, I mean, a lot of other companies like Edward have sort of gone away from putting engine detail into the original kit itself, and instead pushing that aside to the aftermarket.
Yeah, but they are their own aftermarket, so it's
exactly. So they feed themselves.
Is Kotare going to be exclusively aircraft, or are you thinking about perhaps, and I'm trying to sort of reach into the future here, is it going to be purely aircraft company, or you'll look at expanding out to other areas?
Well, certainly for the immediate future, that's our primary focus. We're not going to rule anything out. Who knows? But that's our primary aim at this stage.
I know you've got the large-scale kit builders terribly excited about this. Do we have any sort of indicative dates that we can sort of just throw out there for people?
Well, later next year will be the release of this new kit that we're planning for.
That's terribly exciting. Jeez.
It's about as close as I can.
Looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
With your experience, I mean, how long does it take for a kit like this or other similar sized kits to actually make it from nothing to shipping off? I mean, how long is that process?
In my personal experience, between 18 months and over 10 years to not get it right.
Wow. 10 years. Wow.
So you've really got to be quite strategic in your planning when you're sort of looking at what you're going to be doing in, the next 3 to 5 to 10 years as part of your business plan, really, don't you?
Right. Yeah. I want to have big, huge gaps between releases and stuff, But, we're still a very small company and with quite limited resources. So we'll do our best to get a few things out there.
With the Spitfire Mk1, I imagine the the research phase of the production would have been much shorter compared to the stuff you did at Wings. Was that a factor in the first choice of this subject, you know?
No, not at all. The reason it was the first choice is because I love it. And Mark Grebe, there was a massive hole in the market, and it made a perfect, sensible choice for our first tip. But going back to the research, it's there's a ton of information out there, but so much. Just to give you an example, it's one of the most, a ton of photographs exist. Lots of models of the Mark I Spitfire have been made over time, but not good ones in 32nd scale. And I think it was pretty much the wing leader book that they did on the Mark I Spitfire that pointed out to almost everybody that it didn't have the electrical connector socket on the port wing fillet that every model company has put in. Edward tell you to fill it in on your Mark I, so they know that it's not meant to be there. But that book only came out last year.
Mm.
So that's so everybody thinks they know everything about it, but they really don't.
Yeah.
There's a ton of things, ton of really interesting bits and pieces about it. Obviously, a lot of changes during its its service that sort of need to be incorporated into it, depending on what sort of time frame you're looking at doing. It's absolutely fascinating.
Oh, it would be.
Well, we're going to say we're extremely excited and extremely pleased that we're seeing the birth of a new company, and it just speaks to how well the hobby's sort of travelling along, that it can support the growth of new manufacturers like yourselves. So the actual name of the company, it's a kingfisher bird. Is there a particular reason why that name was chosen, Kotare?
Well, it was suggested by a local modeler here, Richard Holland, to Mark as a potential good name for the company, and it had to be better than all of the other ones. Bird, pretty colourful. Thought the colours might make a nice sort of nice feature of the branding and that sort of thing. It's sort of a New Zealand bird, although you do find them elsewhere, obviously. And this was something that's was important to me. It was a single word, so that when people talked about the company, hopefully they talked about Kotare and not K, not just let, like Wingnut Wings was almost always WMW.
Yeah.
That's not the company.
Yep.
The company is Wingnut Wing. 3 syllables is just a bit too much.
Yep.
Party is also 3 syllables, but it's one word, and it's hard to shorten one word.
Yeah, indeed.
That's right.
Are you planning to sell direct, or are you looking at distributors and still working through that now?
We're finalising how we're going to do it, but we'll probably end up doing something similar to what we organised in the last few years at Wings, through distributors and retailers and direct as well. It's if you sell direct, you really do shut out a huge portion of the market that can or will not order direct. So it'd be a shame to do that.
Yep. I totally agree.
We want to get them into the hands of as many people as possible.
Well, I'll be one of them.
Ian does like a good Spitfire in 1/32 scale. I don't know whereabouts you're going to put it, Ian, because I know how much room you have left in your place. Not much at all.
That's beside the point. I want it.
Richard, go on. You go, Julian.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask. It's become a pretty common thing nowadays that kits get reboxed, and they bring out multiple boxings. We'll re-release a kit with a new set of decals. Is that a kind of thing that you want to do? I mean, I know that Wingnut Wings did that to some degree, and it's pretty standard across the board nowadays. But how is that the kind of thing you want to do?
I can imagine us milking that thing for as long as we possibly can.
Smart business sense.
Well, that leads to the question. So, how many different decal options are going to come out with the first kit? Has that been decided on yet?
Yeah, but we're not quite ready to tell yet.
Right.
Obviously, we've let slip one of them, Alan Deere's famous Kiwi that he
Yes.
landed at Dunkirk and set fire to. I think Daryl's done an amazing job with his, the research and appearance of the plane as it was before he had his fateful action.
Yep.
But the other two, we've pretty much got them nailed down, but these sort of things can change right up until the end, right up until we push print on the decals. So don't want to let anything slip in case we change our mind.
Yep.
But there will be, like I say, we'll be milking this thing for as much as we possibly can. And honestly, whatever we don't do as interesting decal scheme, somebody else is probably already planning.
More than likely, yeah. I'd say by now there's already a few designs on the board around the world.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Another question I have is, will there be the option to have wheels up as well as wheels down?
At the moment, no. Well, you can do, any modeler can do anything the hell they want.
Yeah.
But we put so much effort into setting up our undercarriage so that the struts are at the correct angle and the wheels sit at the correct angle when it's on the ground. So that's our main priority. Because it pains me to see, quite often beautifully made models with undercarriage legs that splay out and forward, and to me that sort of dainty. It's like a sort of like a ballerina perching on your toes. The way that the undercarriage and the wheels interact with the ground with a Spitfire. It's just such a big character of the character.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really like a lot of aircraft. You can really see the weight of it in the way its stance is. And the reason why I was asking about like the wheels up, wheels down is because there's still a lot of people who will put it on a stick and have the wheels up, and they like that sort of in-flight look. And one of the challenges they often have is that the doors won't actually fit into the cavities.
Okay, well, our doors do fit into the cavities. Part of the design process is that we modeled compressed oleos and extended oleos, and then rotated them through the actual action of the real undercarriage to work out how the wheel fitted into the wheel bay and make sure everything fitted, and bumps that cut away properly. And the doors will, unless it all goes horribly wrong, will fit in the wing. But you might just need to fiddle around with the wheels to make them fit in the space available, because the oleos are fully compressed. Well, they're compressed with an aeroplane under load.
Yeah.
So if they were they need to be fully extended for the wheel to end up where it is in the up position in the wheel bay. We did try and make it universal, where you could take a wheel and flip it over like 180 degrees. And because we'd weighted it, it would have to be put onto the port starboard, flip to the other side. We thought we could have height pins or whatever, so that you could actually do that with what we were providing quite simply, but it was just impossible. So at this stage, it's a different round, but I wager any modeler with the salt that very easy to like, because I mean that's where the beauty of the Spitfire becomes even more beautiful.
Fantastic. Richard, so if people want to find out more, they can go to www.kotare, Kotare-models.com, or of course they can find you on Facebook. And I would recommend that people sort of visit those two sites, and when you're at Facebook, like it so you're kept up to date with all the future releases, as well as the timing for the release of the Spitfire Mk1 late version. Richard, it's been wonderful having you on the show. Please keep in touch, because we'd really like to sort of touch base with you and swing past again for any future releases or ideas that you got coming down the pike.
Yeah.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for asking me on.
No worries.
Always a pleasure, mate.
And let's not leave it to 100 episodes before you have you back on again.
You just need to keep inviting me. Maybe one day there'll be another Melbourne Expo and we can catch up there.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Yes, that sounds very good.
Yeah, well, I'm tipping that the way we're moving forward, there will definitely be a Melbourne Expo next year. And, it's only a 4-hour flight across to here,
Yeah, I know.
He's been here a few times.
You're just not allowed to.
Yeah, that's
I was
right.
actually in Melbourne earlier this year and I got freaking trapped there for an extra 3 weeks.
Oh, no. That's what you don't want.
Oh, well, there's worse places to be locked down than Melbourne, let me tell you that right now.
Send you to work from there.
Richard, thanks very much, mate, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Yes, guys, see ya.
See you, mate.
Yeah.
Want to just hang up? You guys.
Well, Richard, as usual, was an interesting subject and person to listen to, and also great to have on the show. But as usual, he's very coy about what's going to be happening in the future, isn't he?
Well, it's still early days.
Yeah, it is.
Once as he said, once they've got concrete information to give out, he's more than happy to do it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if it was any other company, they could have announced their appearance a year from now.
Yeah.
And it still would have been like months, maybe even half a year away from an actual release.
But I just reckon it's great just to see another new company sort of starting up. I reckon it's awesome. Really
It's
exciting.
It's not even like the starting of a new company. It's more like the revival.
Getting the band.
It's like exactly. It's exactly getting the band back together. I feel
Well,
not the entire band, but it's got like the key figures.
It kind of is and it kind of isn't. You're right. It's the key figures. It's like Paul McCartney leaving the Beatles and starting up Wings, the band.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I'm not going to answer.
Also, they're no longer constrained by Peter Jackson's whims, right?
Well, as Richard said, the main reason doing Spitfire is it's his favourite plane.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see that they're going to have so much input into what future ones might come out. I'm just really excited by the CAD renderings. As I said, it shows stressed skin and all the little sort of divots and where panels are sitting on the wing. They're not flush. They're slightly raised up as they would be in the real world. I find that truly exciting, the detail they're getting into it.
I can't wait for someone to buy it and then build it in a way that infuriates people.
What's the way that infuriates people? Not painting
Well,
it.
I don't know if you remember this, but like the Zvezda's PE2 in 48 scale was considered like kid of the year. And one of the earliest examples of someone building it, they just painted all the windows black. And they just said, "Oh, it's got too much detail. Like it's too much work. I can't do it." It's like, really, you're the first person to build this thing, and you paint the windows black? What?
Oh dear.
Oh, it'll be funny.
Yeah.
Or someone will brush paint it. Someone will brush paint it in Humbrol enamels, and like all of that really fine surface detail will get buried under like piles of slaggy of sloppy paint job, you know. Well, they've hit it with the big wide, brush.
Stop being such a pessimist, Julian. Come on.
No, but look, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people who'll do a great job of it, but there's going to be that one guy who does a bad job of it, and I can't wait to see him upset people.
All right, I think it's time for sign-offs. Julian.
Yeah, have fun building. At least you're not building a stupid troll with mushrooms on its head like I am.
Ian.
Hey, Photo Etch still is my friend.
Great, guys. Thanks very much. We'll be back in a fortnight, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.